season right now, and it's kind of exciting.
That sounds interesting, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. I wonder if I
Uh,
can even.
you don't have to patronize me. It's okay.
I I never was super into Survivor. I don't know. We're live, by the way, if you didn't know.
That's okay. We watched it a lot as kids. Like every week we'd watch it as a family. But
Can I only get to my own stream to manage now?
what's wrong?
I thought that there was channel. Nope, that's not what I need. So you see, like I need to update the GetRec stream title, but I don't think I have the ability to do that anymore with their changes
Okay.
to Stream Manager.
Are you able to message somebody to update it? What the
No,
fuck?
this is still on my channel. Where would I think to go to change channels? Edit stream info?
Like the channel that you're streaming to, or
No, so I have the like
okay.
stream key and whatnot. Like that's
Uh-huh.
fine. I just need to change the like stream title on the GetRec stream. And I have
Uh-huh.
like producer privileges or whatever. I used to just type in the correct dashboard
Uh-huh.
and it would just
But now it's
take me
just
there.
not doing it.
But now I can't do that.
Oh shit. Yo, upset. It's popping off. Oh my god, upset. Oh my god,
Oh,
upset.
channels I can manage as editor. Oh, there we go. That's like super inconvenient way to get there. All right. Well, we're here.
Senna's ult, like visually, looks like it should be a lot cooler than it actually is.
Well, this is really good news because now I can pop out the actual chat.
That is good. Okay, here's a question I have.
Yeah,
Maybe this is a stupid question.
there,
So
there are no dumb
LeBlanc,
questions.
this is a stupid question.
Oh,
LeBlanc's combo, a lot of times when I watch it in pro games, it looks like they W, R, and then throughout the Q, like as they're like using their mimicked W, right, to go to the person.
okay.
But I feel like I've tried that combo a million fucking times, and the Q always comes out afterwards. So, am I just seeing it wrong, or are they really doing that? And is it a ping thing?
I
Because usually my workaround is to do R first,
like
and then QW.
legitimately just don't play uh, LeBlanc, so that's you know something I actively avoid in my life. But yeah, it's
Okay,
super weird,
okay.
like the way that good LeBlanc combos hit compared to like when I have had to like try to play the champion in ARAMs is just super backwards.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like even on my ping, I should be able to buffer the inputs and be able to do it, but it never comes out like that, which makes me think that
Oh, I
I'm just
forgot to start. All right, we're just gonna do a timer. There we go, 5 minutes.
5 minute timer for right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
I can find some music too. That might be nice to have, rather than just listening to us talk. What do you wanna listen to that isn't copyrighted?
Oh, I couldn't even name a song that's not copyrighted, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I have 380 stream points. That's OP.
I don't really know what they do.
If you click on them, you can like change them to like do things, like highlight your message or get an emote, I guess. Send a message in sub only mode. Some of the bigger streamers have like, exchange 100,000, they'll 1v1 on stream or something.
Wii Sports boxing results music for 10 hours. Thank you, YouTube. That's what I wanted to listen to.
That sounds about right.
Oh,
That's
here we
pretty
go.
on brand.
Oh, it's the dog version. Okay.
It's even better. Should I turn the...
No,
Let's see.
no, that's fine.
Wait, that's actually amazing.
Oh, they have "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen, to with the same dog. All right. This video is actually amazing. I'm just gonna put this on my like fuck the timer. We got 3 minutes, right?
Uh-huh.
This dog's just jamming it. All right, that's enough of that. Do you want to just start?
We can, if
Okay.
you're ready.
All right. I was about to count it down like we're doing a cast. Gee, it's been a
Hmm.
minute since we've done this. All right. Oh, I didn't play the intro. Okay. This is why I'm not allowed to have nice things. All right, welcome. This is Get Recalled Week 0. My name's Meristematic. Um, yeah, with me is going to be my co-host, Aikedo. If you want to talk for a second, just give him your voice.
That's me. I'm Aikedo. I'm the co-host here
All
with
right.
Meristematic.
All right. So this week is week 0. So we're just going to give an introduction to the podcast and Aikedo and myself. We're going to do a new segment called the Meta Report where we're going to talk about the meta and about LCS for a little bit. And then we're going to do team introductions and our personal tier lists and power rankings and whatnot. Um, yeah. So uh, this is the Get Recalled podcast. This is season 4 of me doing it. This would be season 3 for you, I guess. But
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
so we'll unofficially get rid of last season. We'll pretend that, or last split that didn't exist. So this is season 4, episode 0. We'll call it that. What we're gonna do is we're going to do more of a traditional audio format for a podcast. Basically, it's going to be less to do on the stream. I'm gonna look into options for getting it on like Spotify and Apple Music and that sort of things if you guys are into that. Um, so that we can make it into an actual podcast. Maybe you can listen to it on your drive to work or whatever, and that might be really cool to do. But also means there's going to be less on these slides. I'm going to put less work into giving you something visually pleasing to look at on the stream. So I would say that the preferred format will be listening to us centrally through your ears,
Centrally, huh?
something like that. But yeah, traditional weeks is going to be. Um, a little bit of preview, a little bit of review of the previous week, a little bit of preview of the next week, and those will be as we're going on to stream. So we are going to be delayed. There might be Battlefy results. There will be other results that have been spoiled, but we're going to try to at least keep you in line with what the cohesive narrative should be going into the streams that you're going to watch later on that week. And then um, also, because that's not going to be super interesting if we're a week behind, we're going to do more things like interviews, talk about LCS, like just kind of generally give you more content. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so my name's Meristematic. I am a GetRect admin. With I've been an admin for 2.5 years, 3 years, something like that. Um, Originally was the Twitch coordinator for League KC, and before that, like, just kind of got into League of Legends in season 2, and then found the League KC right after they had finished their beta season. So I've been with this particular organization for quite a while. My favorite champions are Camille and Callista and Akali. Um, I forget what else I wanted to talk about.
That's disgusting. A collie?
Akali, yeah,
I think I have to rethink whether or not I want to do a podcast with a dirty collie player.
yeah, that's probably fair. Maybe talk a little bit louder as well. I think for the
Oh,
mic.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. Um, but yeah. I am an admin for Return of the Middle Sticks as well. I'm not playing on any of the teams this split. I might have to sub occasionally for gold or platinum, but I doubt they'll need me. Um, but yeah, I'm like sort of involved with the gold and platinum teams, but not really at all with the diamond team. So anything that they're saying or doing isn't my responsibility. It's somebody else's. Um, but yeah,
Wash,
looking forward to this split and seeing the players that we have on those two teams kind of grow and learn.
washing your hands of that now. Less affiliated with our team this split than
Yeah,
in
we'll talk
previous.
about that a little later. But um, yeah, in terms of LCS teams that I like, this split going in on 100 Thieves will be my team. Mostly because I like all of their players. I like Papa Smithy. I don't know that they're like building toward anything I'm questionable about Ryoma, but I like them better than most of the other organizations, even if I'm not 100% eye to eye with Nade Shot and some of the stuff that they're doing. But um, yeah, that'll be the top team, I guess, for me. And then Evil Genius is right behind, just because like the exact opposite. I really like their branding, even if their players are kind of goofy. Yeah,
Agreed. They kind of went all in on their branding, huh? Like trying to pull in a lot of people early, a lot of fans early.
yeah, I liked the intro video that they had. We're gonna come out and win and dominate and be evil, and that's really cool. I don't know that the roster that they brought together is like ready to do that, but like Svenskeren and Jizuke seem like a good start. I don't know about the rest of the roster, but
Hmm. Definitely.
yeah.
But yeah.
So who are you?
Oh, I am Aikido. Uh, I am a jungler. I'm playing on GSM this split. I am not affiliated with GetRECalled, so any of my disclaimer, any of my positions or feelings do not necessarily represent those of GetRECalled. Um, yeah, I'm not cool enough to be a part of the admin for them. I have been playing in GetRECalled for years. I think I joined a few years ago as fucking a jungler for pigs. Um, yeah, I've never won anything. So this year I'm playing on Platinum Squad because I'm washed up and maybe I can win something. Um, Not really betting on it. But um, yeah, in terms of I've been a jungler for 3 years, I think, 4 or 5. I've been playing League of Legends since 2013. Um, Altogether, way too long. I've been Diamond in the past. I haven't played in the last 6 months, so I am now hard stuck gold. Um, yeah, in terms of LCS, I unfortunately am a TSM fan. I've been asking for a TSM Dardoch for 3 years. We finally got it, and now they shit the bed, so that is less exciting than I normally would be about it. Um, Other than that, I mean, Cloud9's okay, but there aren't really too many other teams that I'm super looking forward to.
So on
Um,
GSM is Ari holding a gun to your head like you have to say that C9's okay or
um,
like
I
blink twice.
cannot comment on that currently. I do know that my captain, yeah, I might lose play time if I said anything about C9. Um, it's better to just not risk it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I think that wraps up a little bit of who we are. Hopefully you guys can understand then some of the biases that we have coming into to everything. And we'll try to explain as we go along, like some of those that might crop up or might be interesting to discuss. But yeah, so we're gonna talk. This is gonna be kind of a new thing we're going to explore. So I wanted to take, especially on like patch weeks, a look at the meta and how that's going to affect both LCS and GRLCS, and just kind of have a discussion about that. So I guess I wanted to start broadly with like what happened in LCS. Why do you feel like LCS is so slow and boring to watch right now? And I have my own opinion about that, so I'm kind of interested what you would have to say.
it is really weird in the coming into the season, everyone was expecting a lot more aggressive early game focused things. Everyone's like, "Oh, you have to stack dragon, you have to, do this and that." And then we come into NALCS and we're playing fucking 60-minute games and I don't even know. It seems like a lot of it just comes down to meta picks. I think a lot of it comes down to like Senna. Senna just sort of stalemates the early game and has lots of healing, and you kind of just want to scale forever. So I think the priority on her has kind of slowed the game down. And then perhaps just uh, people not being too familiar with the patch. Quite a bit changed, and it seems like NALCS is extremely far behind, and we don't have the LPL to you know, copy ourselves after yet. So, coronavirus too strong. It's holding back NA too.
Yeah, I just think it's super weird, especially with the jungle changes, the way that junglers in NALCS have been using their time. Like, oh, I know we talked about how it probably should be more aggressive, more early game focused around those dragons, and sometimes it feels like they're playing to those like neutral win conditions, but they're just not using their time well. It feels like that's the resource that seems to be lost in all of this. It feels like a lot of the LCS junglers are just on that timer where they need to clear the camps up every single time that they're up, and they're not focused on making active plays or like actually doing things in the game, and it just makes early and mid game just feel super boring, I think.
You're not wrong. I think that a lot of pro players, especially on a new patch, will more likely push towards the safer options, right? So that's going to be just farming constantly for junglers. Um, because that's sort of the percentage play. I'm going to hit some sort of scaling eventually. But with the changes to XP, that scaling doesn't necessarily exist. So I don't know.
So is
It,
it the
it,
most
it
efficient play then to to gank or to take neutral objectives? Like
potentially, especially with
your
Herald,
better experience and time investment would be then not farming, leaving your
probably
camps up and just ganking or
sometimes you
taxing.
can't literally just permagank, but I think that the sentiment's probably correct, especially with Herald being easier to take now. Earlier in the game, you can get two of them. You can push down lots of turrets. Like building up a lead that way is probably the correct play. And in the next couple of weeks, we might see more of that. Depends on how much the XP changes on the PBE actually impact the jungle role and whether we have XP back or not. But in the meantime, you're probably right. Like it probably does come down to playing a lot more aggressively and trying to actually accomplish something with the time you
Yeah,
have on the map.
it just feels very strange. The teams that are losing in these games, and I think it's worse because like the two TSM games are in the spotlight, right? And it just feels like that team and a lot of the other teams that are just on the back foot just refuse to do anything. I think the one that like tried was CLG. Like they were behind really bad to Dignitas and they just like kept throwing engages out but couldn't find kills because they weren't coordinated in any way. But
I
like
mean, CLG is the team that's being sort of touted as like, okay, well, this might literally be the worst team in the league
yeah,
right now.
but like one out of what was that, 8 or 1 out of 10 games last week we saw the like losing team actually try to win the game at some point.
Hmm.
Feels really bad to watch. It's super boring. And I hope, especially as we step a little bit more into the scope of GRLCS, that especially if you're an underdog team, why are you not taking chances? Why are you not trying to make plays, right?
Hmm. Especially within GRLCS, where I mean the skill gap is probably less so than like the top teams of the LCS against the bottom teams. Like none of us are that good in GRLCS, so if you're an underdog, like just shoot your shot. Like there's uh there's no reason not to. You can 50-50 against most teams in the league.
Yeah, I just want to see like especially if your team's like going to win 30% of the time, just take a 50-50 play. Like that's a better odd, right? Than 30-70.
50 is indeed greater than 30. Can
Yeah,
confirm.
okay. And I wanted to really talk about that because as we're going through some of these teams, we're going to be like, oh, I don't think this roster is very good, right? And
Hmm.
I don't want them to immediately be like, oh, we suck. Like I want it to be either I want to prove that guy wrong, or like, hey, maybe we're underdogs. But you know what's really good? I'm gonna play Smite Heimerdinger mid, and we're gonna cheese the fuck out of these guys, and just pick up some wins that nobody expects. And that's what I really want to see from like underdog teams or teams that we rank pretty lowly in here. Is not the just stall the game out. It's gonna make the casters miserable for 75 minutes while you they watch you slowly lose. Just like do something. Try to make something happen.
For sure. For sure. I think you're completely right. A
All right.
lot of teams get caught up with not losing rather than trying to win, right? Especially when they're playing against a team that's supposed to be better than them.
Um,
It's not always conducive to actually upsetting.
So anyway, next is our GRLCS previews. Where do you want to start? Which division? I'll let you pick.
Uh, let's start with short and sweet, the gold, right?
Okay, start with gold. So we'll go back and recap everything. So don't. I actually made slides with our final tier lists on them, so don't feel like you have to try to keep up um, with everything. But we are going to talk about everything first, and then we'll go back and do the review at the end. So these teams are in vaguely in order of the order that they signed up in, I guess is the big qualification. These aren't alphabetical orders or anything else. So, um, yeah. So the first team to talk about is going to be Return of the Middle Sticks Gold. Uh, Coming in, you got Papa Tito in the top lane, a Jelly Roll jungle, Jabronis in mid, Karasuda and Gidshade Slayer bot, and um, I think this team is going to be pretty good, unbiasedly, this split.
I mean, it's hard to not put them near the top. A lot of them are, high gold, as opposed to, some of these teams aren't particularly high gold. Plus, there's a lot of names that you can remember. Karasuda, it's the Callisto one trick that has been extremely effective in Gold League. I think he's sitting at Gold 1, 100 LP, 2 wins in his promos right now. So he's a pretty good gold player. Uh, they definitely have a lot of things going for them, I think. And it's a lot of returning faces. I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that this team is probably going to be, one of the better ones.
Yeah, and I think gold is super weird. So you have 6 teams, and 4 of them make playoffs. I really only feel like 2 teams have a significant shot at winning the whole thing, and that one of the teams is Return of the Middle Sticks. Um, and like it's kind of weird. It feels like there's 3 tiers of teams, and it's kind of obvious where the divisions is, but we could see them flip just a little bit. Uh,
For
so
sure.
I have Return of the Middle Sticks as my number 2 team coming in, and I believe you do as well.
I also have Return of the Six as the number 2 team.
All right. So the next team to talk about is going to be Gods of Herald, our first team. That's a Kings of Baron brand, Ionic Wind brand. um, you got
How many of
Derisive.
those are there?
I don't even know anymore. 5 or 6, maybe.
I think so. I think it's close to double digits. Ionic Wind has his thumb in every single pie.
Yeah, maybe he's got all 36 and we just don't know it yet. You got Derisive Oxen in the top lane, Taco Trineki in the jungle, Oath, aka Neo, aka Legion. He's had a bunch of different names, I guess. In the mid lane, Nyrock87 in all caps, so I guess I'm supposed to shout that. And then Glitter and Gains in the bot lane.
And this is another team with a lot of returning faces. We've seen Taco Trineki, we've seen we've seen everyone here except I don't recognize Nyrock. Um,
I think he's subbed a couple of times because I recognize the name, but like I played in gold, so yeah,
Gotcha. You would be more likely to recognize the people.
yeah.
Um, as far as this team's potential goes, I think that, they definitely could do extremely well. Um, I don't know if I don't know, they're sort of like at the top of the second tier here, right? Like we sort of have like the top two teams, ostensibly the top two teams,
Hmm.
and then uh Gods of Herald are kind of like the top of the next tier, right? Like they're just right below them.
Yeah, I think definitely a playoff team. Um, and then whether they're third or fourth, I think is up for debate. I have them fourth personally. It looks like you have them third on the
I
list.
do have
So,
them third. Yeah.
um, again, yeah, they have a lot of potential, especially their top half of the map. I think Taco Trineki and Derisive Oxen are both very good players, and
Hmm.
if they can find a play style that works for them, they might be able to upset one of the top two teams. But the way that it shakes out right now, I just think that those top two are super good.
You're not wrong.
So then we'll next is going to be the other team in that top tier. It's Gecko Slammer Armageddon. Um, you got El Zacco number 69 in the top lane. You got Panther number 553,212 in the jungle. Hog Levi's in mid, a Naked Beekeeper and Silver Spade 10 holding down the bot lane.
And, speaking of top teams, this one, I think we both have them listed first. This team's just really good. They're perennials within the gold capped GSM is just, I don't know, man. Silver Spade is super fucking good. Panther's good on tanks. And then, Naked Beekeeper's always good. I don't know. There's just a lot of parts here that make this team extremely scary to face, I think.
Yeah, you're bringing in Naked Beekeeper, who's been a pretty serviceable like top half player in Platinum League in the past. Pairing
Hmm.
him with Silver Spade 10, who won the gold capped MVP last split, on the basically four of the five returning players from the team that won gold cap last split. And it's hard to make an argument for any other team to be the top of this conference.
For sure. So, I've been in Diamond. I've played against a lot of good teams, a lot of good players. I've scrimmed a couple times against Silver Spade. Silver Spade is really fucking good. Like the guy's gold four, but Silver Spade is really fucking good. Um, Especially for a gold league. It's it's hard to see a bot lane here that can match Naked Beekeeper and Silver Spade. It just seems like that's going to be a mismatch everywhere you go.
Yeah, it feels like you have to catch them on their worst day and then also have your best day in order to just make it an even lane.
Exactly.
And even then, like Panther knows that that's their win condition, and Panther is not shy about not farming his camps and going and camping camping somebody for the entirety of the game.
And he's liable to pick Zach and, just set up shop in one of the bushes. And I mean, that's their win con. But
Yeah, they have a very clear, defined play style, and we'll see if they can add some wrinkles to it as the season goes on. But um, already, like GSM and Return of the Middle Sticks play in week one, so you're getting your big money game out right at the start, and whoever wins that, we should look immediately as that's the team to beat.
for sure. And this is double round robin, right?
Yeah, they'll play another time in the second half. Yeah,
For sure. So it's not, for whoever loses, it's not, already hope over, but I don't think it would be surprising if we ended up with, three games or three series rather between these two. The first one here, the second one later on in the season, and the third one in the finals.
Yeah, and then the one that matters, the only one that matters, is that one in the finals. You just have to make sure that you punch your ticket to the playoffs. So,
With, I mean, 66% of the teams making it, you have a pretty good shot, I'd say.
but yeah, that's the biggest thing I think to keep in mind is, for all the gold teams, is like it doesn't matter in week one if you can beat Gecko Slammer Armageddon. It does matter when you get, like, you have to make sure you're winning enough games to get in the playoffs, and then you just have to be better in the playoffs.
For sure, for sure.
So 11, 12 weeks from now, that's when you need to be better than GSM.
That's when you need to be playing your best League of Legends.
So our fourth team then is going to be Goliath Esports Warriors. First off, we've got three Goliath Esports teams, and I hate that they capitalize the E in esports. Just gonna go ahead and go in on that immediately. Other than that, I have no issue with them. But General Lee number two, maybe General Lee II in the top lane. Notice me Senpai in the jungle. Zyra Ascend playing mid. Spazdic at bot, and support is a little ugly.
So, just a disclaimer, a lot of the teams that we're looking at today, um, not particularly familiar with, it's a lot of new faces, I'd say. And this team has a lot of faces that I don't recognize. So the ranking of it is a lot of it's based off of, their ranking in previous seasons and, just a quick overview of their accounts. But this team seems like it could be, contesting for that second tier. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
this
I think that,
is. Sorry,
go ahead.
I was gonna say this is the other team I have in the playoffs. The only player I know on their team is Zyra Ascend, and I played in a different league against him at one point.
Hmm.
So, I don't really remember that. I remember him being good to okay. So like big big sample size there for their team. But yeah, I have them at number three just because I feel like their ceiling, especially with their solo queue ranks, like they've got higher gold players on their team, might be a
Hmm.
little bit higher than Gods of Herald, but I think that you can interchange those, and I don't have any particular issue with it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we've got kind of we've got the great, we've got the good out of the way. Unfortunately, now we got the teams that we don't think are going to make the playoffs. So first is going to be the Muscle Knots with their Flex as their shorthand, which is kind of nice. Um, Slim 13 Richie in the top lane. Swagga Stupid in the jungle. Mid is GVG number three. Bot lane is Setherson and Grimgate. And Setherson, I think, is the only, like, other than just recognizing them from posting OPGGs in the Discord, I only really know
Hmm.
Setherson. I've seen him play before.
Yeah, definitely recognize Setherson. The rest, it's a lot of new faces. Um, and with those, you kind of look at the ranks. They're not coming in with as high of gold ranks. They have a silver player on their team, which doesn't necessarily mean anything, especially at this elo. A lot of what creates success is the synergy between the players and such. And maybe they're all super good. I think as of right now, though, it's hard to really predict them to beat any of the teams that we've already listed.
Yeah, it feels like the other teams have a defined strength that we can even see just kind of jump out just based on the solo queue rankings or based out of our previous experiences. And it's hard to see
Hmm.
where that is necessarily for muscle knots. Not that they can't develop one or that they will be terrible all split, but like sitting here day one, they just look a little bit weaker than the teams around them.
For sure, for
Um,
sure.
but that being said, I have them number five.
I also have them number five.
So that would be one, two games right outside of playoffs. So they definitely have a chance to step up into there. And once you get into playoffs, crazier things have happened. We saw Jingo Squad, make their way through a couple of splits ago. So really, anything can happen. And then
For
the
sure.
last team's going to be the Bad Baron, which I wanted to know if it was like if they were going for like a Red Baron thing, and that would be pretty cool, or if they would go for, or if they're just talking about like Baron calls in general, which is
They
also
might
fun.
describing their play style. It is, very much centered around bad barons.
So it's
Um,
GSM number two.
yeah, GSM version 2. By the name, you might think it's another Ionic Wind team, but it's actually GSM.
So you get Seablevs in the top lane, Potato Fist number 101 in the jungle, Captain Biggest in mid lane. That's all caps.
Hmm.
And then bot lane is Gootzilla 7 and Oh Shy Guy O. I've actually played with two of these players, so that's kind of neat.
That is neat. And you still put them low?
Yeah. So I've played with Potato Fist and Shy Guy. Shy Guy's been a while since I played with him. He is one of the old LKC guys who's just hung around, I
Hmm.
guess. Um, but I'm excited to see them return. And then I've played with Potato Fist fairly recently. He's a pretty good jungler. But I think with a lower silver and with a second silver as well on their team, that just screams to me like it's going to be the lowest like average team. So even if they have one
Hmm.
or two really good players, I don't know that it elevates them over anybody else.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that these are bad players. It's that looking at it's just the teams that are above them. Like you had said earlier, there are just such defined strengths. They're relatively known quantities, and we can expect them to be relatively good. Um, but looking at these new teams, you see a couple of silver players, you see some low gold players, and it's just it doesn't really strike confidence. There isn't a whole lot to call to call an upset over there.
Yeah. So we both have them sixth, and then just to recap, our gold power rankings here. I'll show them on stream while we're talking about our next group. So don't feel like you have to hurry and screenshot this or anything. But there's our recaps. We pretty much agree. We flipped Gods of Herald and Goliath Esports Warriors, but um, other than that, we like we said, we kind of have defined tiers for gold blue.
For sure, for sure.
All right, so the next group to talk about is going to be Diamond. Jump from my strength to your old strength, right? Your old boys.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so with the reservation, I'm going to talk about the change that was made today, like very briefly. But the team, gosh, final boss that
That's right.
originally signed up for Diamond is going to move down to Platinum, and then in their place we have K State B team. I had a full roster sent to me literally as we were going live, so I haven't had time to really rank them. So I've got them as an unknown tier and unknown quantity. Their roster, if you're interested, is Mediocre Hats in the top lane, Delorum jungle, Duckster mid, Archites in ADC, and Kyler G at support. Um, I actually recognize some of these names mostly because some of the guys with Return of the Middle Sticks also play for K State, so I recognize like Mediocre Hats and Archites and Duckster, and they're
Mhm.
pretty good. But I don't know much more about them other than that, and we didn't rank them as part of our ranking list.
Yeah, I'm not 100% unknown quantity to me. K-State teams in GRLCS past have had pretty good success, so we'll see if they're able to, carry on that legacy. But yeah, I don't recognize any of the players.
Um, and then so for these larger leagues, it feels really bad to try to rank them 1 through 12 or 1 through 18. So we're going to try something a little bit different, and we've done a tier list strategy. So in this case, like an S tier team is going to be one that we think contends for the championship. Um, so probably two or three teams in that tier are going to be like what you're looking at, the teams that are going to be in the finals at the end of the split. You've got your A for contenders, so teams we think that have enough upside that they could, like if we saw them in the championship, wouldn't be out of the question at all. Um, B tier is going to be playoff teams, so other teams that will make the playoffs, but not we don't think will contend for the championship. C tier is going to be teams that we don't think will make the playoffs, and then D tier is teams that we think have absolutely no shot with their current roster.
And when you put it like that, it sounds harsh.
Tier lists are serious business. We just ranked Bad Baron number 6 and doomed them to failure all split. So
No, we do, or we created them as, they're the upset, right? Like they're the
Yeah,
unknown value. They can shake things up. And just because we give you a D tier on this, you still have a shot, right? Take a couple games off of someone, maybe win. You know.
yeah. And again, these teams that we're talking about are very vaguely in order that they signed up in. Some of them have been um, like mixed around just a little bit. Uh, but yeah, first team we want to talk about is
Do you
that
want to
was
talk about them in
that was a
like
sentence.
one conference each,
Oh, that would be
one
important to
conference
do.
at a time?
Yeah, let's do one conference at a time. Okay, so also, we were given the executive privilege of naming the divisions for this. Um, so the first division we're going to call the Feather Knight division. The second division is going to be Moldiver for Diamond. The Feather Knight division is going to be the one that we're starting with. So Feather Knight, the first team is going to be the Dog with Hat Gang. You got 2019 offended in the top lane, Doc in the jungle. Here comes Doc. Um, Mid lane's Killering, bot lane is Vital, and support Blonde halfling.
And this is a team that, a lot of faces that have played before. They played in the Summer Splash, and didn't they play last split? I don't know what team name under, but
They were unlucky Ascension
that sounds like a team that
because
played.
Retribution was Player John's team, and they were the other
Yeah,
team, so they were Ascension. I think
that sounds.
that sounds right.
I, Watch, we're gonna be
Oh
entirely
no, they're
wrong here.
Saucy Summoners. That's okay.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, that's
Um,
definitely them. Yeah, they were Saucy Summoners. Okay.
so yeah, with this, I feel like um, this is a team that it's sort of a known quantity. We know a lot of the players here. They've had pretty good success in the past. They're good players. Vital, Killering are both pretty strong. Killering, especially if he gets on one of his main champions, he has, three or four or five. If he gets one of them, he can be extremely effective. Um, I'm not familiar with Doc, so I don't know, how strong the top side of their map is, but altogether, I'd say it's a team that we sort of had high expectations for.
Yeah, Doc was actually a player I was super impressed by during the last split. All the streams that I caught, it seemed like he was just making play after play on his junglers. And
Hmm.
I specifically remember like a Gragas game and the casters going crazy, yelling, "Here comes Doc!" every time he came in. And um, yeah, I think that he's a really good player, and they have a lot of upside, and they're very generally skilled across the board. Um,
Hmm.
so I have them in the S tier. I believe you do as well.
Yeah, I also have them in the S tier, so that's sort of the people that we expect to, be playing in the championship
Yeah, so one of the couple best teams in the league is
for
where we
sure,
expect them to finish off.
for
Um,
sure.
so then the second team, also in the Feather Knight division, is going to be Return of the Middle Sticks. Tendies 2 in the top lane, Divine in the jungle, Algu in mid. I don't know if he's playing on Hedgehog or Haley Kikyo in bot lane, and the other bot laner is Woohoo Jit. They have specifically requested to be listed as bot and not necessarily bot and support, because of
Gotcha.
course they did.
As you do, as you do.
Um, Again, this is
So
my home organization, but I had very little to do with this diamond team. I'm not responsible for them.
not responsible, completely washing your hands of them.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is again a lot of names that we would recognize, right? I've been singing the praises of Algu and Tendies for years at this point. They're both extremely strong players. Tendies usually seen in the jungle role this time around in top. Still extremely good at fighters. He's the type of person that once he gets a lead, he's extremely effective at pushing that lead. And then Algu's just such a beast on so many champions. This is another team that have high expectations for. Plus with the roster, they've picked up a few of the PPC rejects, and yeah, I think it's definitely a team to be worried about if you're playing against them.
I don't know if they're the PPC rejects because the other ones are the ones that are gone, and these are the ones that have stuck around.
Well, they're no longer on PPC, right?
Right. I guess that's also true. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I would expect we saw in the in the Diamond chat, when everybody had access, they posted their pick and ban strategy. You can go ahead and follow that. They're apparently going to use that to draft their games. They did for a scrim already after sending it to the team that they were scrimming, so um, they might be serious about it. Who knows?
Wait, league scrim results, did they win?
um, I'm not at liberty to tell that.
Oh, I assume they won.
But yeah, so Tendies used to play top lane. When
Mhm.
they joined OKLCS, like they were an LKC team, they joined OKLCS. Tendies could play 4.5 champions in the top lane.
He was a Riven one trick at one point,
Yeah,
wasn't
he played Riven, Camille, Fiora, uh, Jax, and then there was a game where all four of those were banned, and he just picked Master Yi top.
he? As you do, as you do.
Still won that game, but yeah, I hope that he's picked up a couple more champions in the meantime.
I'm sure he has. I've
He has shown
played
a little
enough
bit of
attendees
adaptability in the jungle, so hopefully he's picked up some top lane champions as well. But
for
um,
sure.
I don't know. I'm really excited to watch them play. I hope that they use their pick ban strategy because that would just tickle me in certain ways. But
It's a good meme if nothing else.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, another team that I have them in the S tier. I think you do as well.
yeah. Um, I think if you had to like beginning of the season pick a final, I think that you're looking at Return of the Middle Sticks versus Dogwolf Hat Gang. I think that there's another couple of teams that could be there at the end, but I think that those are the two strongest right at the start.
Definitely a couple teams. I think that this one's probably a little bit closer than Gold in that I could see, maybe five teams have a real shot at getting the championship. But at this point, it definitely seems like, the RTM and Dog with Hat Gang are gonna be up there.
Uh,
They're the safe money bet.
yeah. So the next team, again, staying in the Feather Knight division, is going to be Peter Time. Um, their tag is B Team, and I'm not sure. I think I'm missing a joke there, but I'm not really sure. But they've got Cell Dank memes for RP in the top lane, Can't Catch Steve in the jungle, SKT Ezreal in mid, CKG, and Chocolate Burger in the bot lane.
Yeah, and they hold the distinction of only being the second team in the league that is entirely diamond. So props to them for that. But a lot of unknown faces here. They seem like an unknown quantity. I don't recognize any of the names. Um, but based purely off the rankings, based purely off of looking at their accounts, they seem like they're a team that could be towards the top.
Yeah, and by virtue of being one of two teams with an entirely diamond roster, with Dog with Hat Gang being the other one, uh, Return of the Middle Sticks has two platinum ones that are kind of memes, it seems like. So
Hmm.
slide them, but um,
Yeah.
one of two full diamond rosters. I have them, contending for the championship. I think that they have a lot of upside based on that.
Hmm.
I know that solo queue and team are very different monsters, but like, uh, some of that mechanical talent usually translates. And
Absolutely.
um, so I have them uh, in the A tier, which is like contending for the championship. I think if they ended up there at the end of the season, I could be like, ah, yeah, I see how they did that. But I don't have them as like an odds-on favorite.
For sure. I think I have them listed as a playoff team. It's the B tier. It means probably going to make playoffs. I don't know if they're necessarily, contending for the championship at the end of the season, but they definitely seem like a safe bet for playoff berth.
Yeah, and the roughest part about this. So I guess a step back. The diamond format. There's 12 teams. So it's two conferences of six. You play a double round robin in your conference. The top three out of your conference make the playoffs. And
Hmm.
I we'll have this discussion again next week as we kind of recap everything and look toward week one. I think Feather Knight is really stacked.
I think that you're correct. Um,
So we've already talked about three teams that I think would make the playoffs in this group,
mhm.
and also all of them contend for the championship. In my opinion, I think you have B team not quite in that tier, but in the playoff tier. So any other team by default would be below the cutoff for playoff teams, even though I don't necessarily think that there's bad teams left in their division.
Yeah, no, I mean, just spoiler, there's a couple more teams here that are look pretty strong and look like they could contend near the top. I think that Feather Knight definitely has the lion's share of the stronger teams here. It's a lot harder division, I think, to play in.
All right, so our next one is going to be George and Gromp FTR. I, I've been told it's important that the FTR is there, but I don't know what it stands for or why. And I'm sure Ionic Wind will tell us at some point, but as of
I
right
hope
now,
so.
that's an unknown. This is,
FTR is fuck the Rift for the Rift.
who knows?
George and Grump. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, this is our second Ionic Wind brand team. Um, you've got Zez in the top lane, Mandalorian Army in the jungle, Myth in mid, Beniona and Violet Kitten in the bot lane.
So recognize Benyona. Once upon a time, a one of the best top laners in GRLCS. Now role swap to AD carry. I think he's been playing AD carry for a while. Um, but definitely a recognizable face. He's been extremely high elo before. If he's playing ADC, I would expect good things out of him.
Yeah, I think that this is a team with a lot of upside, and if they were in Moldiver, would be contending for the playoffs. Unfortunately,
Hmm.
they're in Moldiver, so I think that they're actually a bottom two team in this division,
They're in Feather Knight, yeah.
um, because I think that there's four super good teams and two that are like okay.
Hmm.
So like I have GGFTR as a C tier team, but I don't think that that necessarily reflects at how good they are.
For sure, it's kind of difficult because you have them listed, and within this conference, they're not a bad team within like the full division, within the full league. But as far as within this conference, it's just such a hard task to take down the teams that are above them that it's hard to put them, you know, any higher than, like a low B or C tier team.
All right. And then the other team, the last team we need to talk about in Feather Knight is GSM, Gecko Slammer Armageddon. You've got General Vici in the top lane, Timeless Struggle, it's jungle, the Shiny Bidoof, aka God, Reformed Jester, aka King Yeetloaf, in mid, Rito Torchic, and Catalyst 7401 in bottom.
And another GSM team that a lot of returning faces. General Vici has been extremely successful since he swapped over to the top lane. He played for GSM last split, and in the Summer Splash, I think. Rito Torchic is consistently one of the better ADCs within the league. Is always extremely strong within his role. Has been really dominant within the laning phase and transitions that well into the mid and late game. This is a team that you know it's unfortunate that they're in such a strong division because this feels like it should be a team that's contending for the top. But it could be a real possibility that they land just outside of the playoff picture here.
Yeah, I have them as an S tier team. I think that they can contend for the championship, but at
Hmm.
the same time, because of the division they're in, they could miss the playoffs completely. And that also wouldn't surprise me. I
Yeah,
think
I
that
have.
there's four super good teams in this division, and there's only three spots for them.
Yeah, I have them as listed as an A tier team. I'm expecting them to be contending for the top, but each individual game in this side of the conference is going to be so important because one or two games is all that keeps them from not even making the playoffs.
Yeah. And I will be very surprised if a team from Moldiver wins the championship. I'll go out there right now. I think that there's one team that has a shot, maybe two you could make an argument,
Maybe
but
two,
they're
but
so
yeah.
outside shots. I think that your winner is coming out of Feather Knight,
Hmm.
and also like I will be very surprised if Moldiver has any success.
Feather Knight is definitely the safe money bet. There are just too many good teams there that you would expect them uh, to be the ones to walk away in the end with the victory.
Yeah. So that said, Moldiver is our other conference. Um, we're gonna like it's difficult to rank these separately from each other, but
Hmm.
so our first team is going to be Goliath Esports Armored. You've got Key of Light '09 in the top lane, H Chorus in the jungle, Shadow Senpai in mid, Go to Cake, and Kiyohime in the bot lane.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Um, this is a team, don't recognize a lot of the names, but once you start looking at, it's a team with one diamond player on it, right?
Mhm.
And the other three platinum players aren't high platinum, and then they have a gold jungler. With the strength of a lot of these teams, it's difficult to really, put your money on Goliath Esports Armored. Um, I think that, that said, they are in Moldiver, so there's a chance that they squeak out a playoff spot.
Yeah, I've got a very clear top three and bottom three in my mind when I look at Moldiver. So I'll
Hmm.
be very surprised. I think that Goliath Esports is the best of the three teams that'll be out of the playoffs, but I
Hmm.
don't know that there's a whole lot of opportunity for them to punch up and hit one of those teams that's above them.
For sure. I think we both have them listed as C tier teams, so that's teams that'll be outside of the playoffs,
Yeah. And I could see a world where you would argue that they would be D tier and not have a shot at all, but
but they're in Moldiver.
we'll give them benefit of the doubt. We'll go C.
Hmm. For sure.
Um, so then the next team is going to be No Name 5, Castellan Crow '01 in the top lane, IKB 42 in jungle, Blue in mid, Half Korean, and Raspek in the bot lane.
Oh, having half of a Korean does lend itself that's a plus, right?
Right.
Uh, that feels like a certain advantage that they have. Um, realistically, don't recognize many of the names here, so uh, looking at the roster, it's another roster with not very high ranked players.
Yeah, you do have your one diamond player in mid lane rather than ADC, worth noting.
Mhm. So depending on the meta, that could be an improvement over GEA's diamond player. But you're looking at a gold jungler and then some low plat for the rest. Another team that I had listed as landing probably outside of the playoffs.
Yep. Um, yeah, I've got them in D tier, which will be. I don't think that there's a world where they make the playoffs
Hmm.
unless they make significant roster improvements. But ready
For
to
sure.
be ready to be proved wrong by that. Um,
Hopefully.
so yeah,
Hopefully.
our next team is Sensei Squad. Virgin Jordan in the top lane, Water Bear in the jungle, Fiction in mid, Boar and FB Jake in the bottom lane, and uh, this is the bot lane with probably the highest upside in Diamond.
Hmm.
With Boar and FB Jake, and Jake is actually the highest rated player right now in Diamond. So shout out to him, I guess.
Shout out to him playing in Gold Cap 2 splits ago.
Yeah,
Um, he's really improved.
yeah, just shot up the rankings. But they're they should be a very good, very aggressive bottom lane duo, and I don't think that anybody in their conference can match them.
Looking at the Bull Diver, it's hard to see maybe other than like one team that could contest them. They have a lot of strength. This is a roster that Water Bear's coming from Platinum,
Mhm.
right? He was playing in Plat Capped last season.
I believe he won
Uh,
MVP in Plat Capped, if I'm not mistaken, as
he
well.
definitely had success in Plat Capped. Um, this is a team that is looking pretty strong. As far as Moldiver goes, I think that they're probably a pretty easy pencil in for a playoff position. Whether or not they'll realistically be able to contest for a championship, not sure, but I think it's a safe bet that they're going to make it out of this conference.
Yeah, I think with the high end, the way that their bottom lane is, I have them as an A tier team, which would be contending for the championship. They're the
Hmm.
only Moldiver team that I have above a B tier. um, so I'm really excited to see them play. I think that they have an outside shot at being able to match up with some of these Feather Knight teams. Um, but a lot of that opportunity is based on them being in the weaker division.
For sure, for sure.
Uh, All right, our next team is going to be MSU Bears JV, so Missouri State. Changeling 23 in the top lane, Arcade Raven, Demola, Dud the Bomb, and Fenrir '05.
And the third team in Moldiver that has gold players on it and one diamond. This time, two gold players. Uh, Especially in Moldiver, where you're looking at the other top teams. With like the Borin Jake bottom lane for Sensei Squad. It's hard to see how the MSU Bears. It's hard to see the path that they go that they have success. Um, I have them ranked outside of the playoff scene. Um, and I think that even in a weak division like Moldiver is, it's hard to see them make playoffs.
Yeah. I think that they could potentially have some upside, especially being a college team. You have access to a lot of resources that other teams might not have.
Hmm.
And if they can use those resources and like drastically improve, they might have a shot. But yeah, I think I've got them as a solid D team.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
All right, second to last is going to be EXT. Um, Reptar in the top lane. Waisha Arja. Uh, I don't know if it's okay. So there's a World of Warcraft thing I think that's named similar to this.
uh-huh.
There's also a Day 9 StarCraft commentator skit who talks about the name, and he calls it Waisha RJ. And I really like pronouncing it that way, even if that's not correct. So we're going to go
Why
Waisha RJ.
Sharjay? I think that's a reasonable way to go about it.
Fizzer in mid, Aeons and Curb Stomp in the bottom lane.
And this is a team with, a lot of, or at least a few returning faces. Kirby and Eons, we've seen them before. They've been playing together for quite a while. GRLCS, I think they were together last split and Summer Splash. And then top lane Reptar. Reptar, especially within the Moldiver um, conference, it seems like a role where he would be able to do pretty well. If you're looking at his competition in the top lane, there's only one other diamond top laner within his conference. Looking at that, I think that this is a team that will probably end up doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think definitely a playoff team, definitely top of their division. I have them on the B tier, so just outside like a contender for the championship, but definitely a playoff team.
Yeah, I think I have them in A tier, just based off of coming out of Moldiver and the upside with Kirby. But I expect them to be a pretty good team.
Yeah, you've also called Kirby an elo terrorist at one point.
Kirby, don't duel with him because he will indeed uh, terrorist your elo. So that said, when you put him in a competitive setting, he seems to be pretty good. Player who was master tier last season, I'd expect good things. Grandmaster even, right?
Yeah. Our last team for Diamond then is going to be Team Krugs. I think this is another team by Ionic Wind. Not 100% sure on that one though. Filipino Thug in the top lane. Actually doesn't have an extra vowel in it. It's Filipino. Danelle in the jungle. Daki in mid. Pickle Stir Fry and Juju Smith Schuster in the bottom lane.
Uh, don't recognize the people here, but within the Moldiver conference, looking at ranks, looking at the upside of this team, it's hard to not put them as a playoff team within the Moldiver conference.
Yeah. So just to recap, then our diamond tier list is going to be. I've got Aikaido's up first, but um, S tier, you've got Dog with Hat Gang and Return of the Middle Sticks. Your A tier is GSM and EXT. B then is Sensei Squad, Peter Time, Team Krugs, and Georgian Grump FTR. Um, C is Goliath Esports and No Name 5, and D is MSU Bears.
Yep. And then KSU, of course, not sure where they're going to land.
Yeah, and then my tier list kind of changes some of this around, but RTM, Dog with Hat Gang, and GSM in the top tier. You guys can read, so we'll go ahead and jump in. Um, to the mess that is Platinum. Um, with these rankings, the only caveat is Kings of Baron doesn't have a full roster as far as I know, so they're a little bit of an unknown. Um, and yeah, uh, that's going to be the big caveat I have for this. There's also 18 teams. Eight of them make playoffs. It's the top four from each of the divisions that have nine in them, so you've got a 44% chance in your division to make it out. Yeah.
That's true.
Um, the two divisions for Platinum are going to be called Silver Wing and Fury Horn. So we're going to start with the Silver Wing, which I again will argue is the stronger of the two divisions.
Yeah, I think it's probably a pretty safe bet that Silverwing's a little bit stronger. Maybe. Maybe just a little bit.
All right. So number one team for Silver Wing is going to be Revenge of the Mosher. In the top lane will be iClutch, Jungle Seismic, mid Chris Can't Miss, and bot Biscuit, Titchbit, and Spoon Crush.
So, Diamond Perennials now moved down to Platinum. Chris Can't Miss has been in GRLCS for literally ever. Biscuit Titchbit is did they play in Plat last season? Is that right?
Yeah,
And then Seismic has played in Diamond before. Uh, his team had pretty good success in Platinum when he was playing, and then iClutch is there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, Go ahead.
so I'm going to go ahead and we'll make the executive decision since a lot of people are apparently way too impatient to wait for the tier list. So we'll just go ahead and show it so you can tell that we're
Oh,
talking about
really?
Platinum, even though you can listen with your ears. So that's pretty cool.
Oh,
But
shit.
yeah, so I think that this team has a lot of upside. You've got some Diamond players, former Diamond players on this team, um,
Hmm.
but they're players that have never really like the last couple of splits. Like there's the meme about Chris winning two championships, right?
Yeah, but those were how
S-
many years ago?
since then, he's finished out of the playoffs, out of the playoffs, out of the playoffs.
Hmm.
So
Admittedly, those have been against Diamond teams. He realized maybe he can't contend up there, and now he's trying his hand in Platinum.
yeah, so I have Revenge of the Mosher as I have them listed as a B minus team.
Hmm.
I think that they would be a playoff team in the other bracket, but in Silverwing, I don't think that they are.
I think I have them listed as a playoff team, so that's in the B tier there. I don't expect them to, be contending for the top, but they probably have a shot at um, making it out of the conference.
Yeah. Our second team is going to be Return of the Middle Sticks, Liposuction Lane in the top lane, Dr. Wildey in the jungle, Winged Nation in mid, Otso and Black Salt in the bottom lane.
Uh, and a team with a lot of returning faces. Wildy has been a diamond jungler. Liposuction Lane has been a diamond top laner. Wing Nation, um,
Has been
has a
called a
lot of
Diamond
ranked
Smurf.
anxiety, so we don't we don't know exactly where he landed. But he's had tons of success. And then Otso Black Salt is a bottom lane that is pretty scary. I think that they're one that could be contending for among the best, um, in the top lane, or I'm sorry, in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I think that
So
this team is super good, no bias at all. Um, I fail to see another roster in Platinum that'll stand up to them right now. With some changes, maybe they could, maybe they fall off. But each of these players individually is super good, and I think as a
mhm.
team they've played together for a little bit, and I think that it's just yeah they're very good. I have them in S tier, one of the teams that I think is a pretty good favorite to make the championship.
Same. Also have them in S tier. That's I'd say pretty safe bet.
So next in Silver Wing will be the White Knights. This is our gold friends, I guess. Toe Knuckles in the top lane, Godzilla in jungle, Silercia in mid, and Worgenite and Paladin in the bottom lane.
recognize some names here from Platinum Cap, or not Platinum, from Gold Capped. Um, Unfortunately, within the Silverwing conference, it's difficult to see a way that they make it out of groups. Honestly, I think that I have them listed as a D tier team, just because there's a lot of strength in their conference, and it's difficult to see how they would make it out.
Yeah, I also have them listed at D tier. I really like all of their players, like individually as people. Um, but Platinum Capped as a whole has really leveled up the last couple of splits, and this one, uh, like there's a lot of now players who you would call Diamond Smurfs, whereas before that ceiling just wasn't there almost. The
Hmm.
high platinum players were all just playing in Diamond Capped or, not around, but everybody's kind
For
of
sure.
leveled up, and I think that that gap is just pretty big right now. So yeah, I also have White Knights in D tier.
Yeah.
Um, and then Pootie Tangang is the next team. Bustin is gay in the top lane. Farjad in jungle. Exesai in mid. Dirty Audacity and Dr. Siggy Wiggy in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and this is a team, recognizable faces. Siggy Wiggy. There's a few people here who are, high platinum.
A few, yeah.
Perhaps could play a couple games and maybe hit diamond, maybe. Um, just based off their roster, it definitely seems to be a team that um, could have quite a bit of success
Yeah, I think it's three players who finished the season at D1 100 LP,
or plat
and
one,
one who is D1 like 80 LP, and then
plat one.
or Plat one, excuse me, not D1. Yeah, not calling them out, but uh,
Freudian slip. It's okay.
and then one Plat 2 player. So I guess he's just really bad. That's where you target, right?
I mean, it is in the jungle, and everyone knows jungle is the worst role right now. So you might as well put your worst player there, right?
Right. So yeah, I have him as S tier. I only have Return of the Middlesticks and PTG in my S tier, so um, that would be my odds-on pick to be the final if I had to pick right now.
Yeah, I also have PTG in the S tier. I would say that they're a safe bet for making it out of playoffs and contesting for the top.
All right, next will be Kings of Baron, which I did get an update. Thank you, Dogmar. So that'll be my name Dave in the top lane, Cyrane playing jungle, Tall X guy in mid, um, Windosaurus and Dogmar in the bottom lane.
Okay.
So with that new information, I don't know that we gain a whole lot of actual info, um, but I think that they're all platinum players, which is something for
Hmm.
a middle of the pack team. Um, I There could be a world where they contend for playoffs. I don't have them there immediately.
I also don't have them there. I have them sitting outside of the playoffs. Just looking at the conference they're in, being all platinum is a plus, but I'm not sure that I see enough upside or enough potential in these players to really, say for certain, like, yes, I think this team will be in the top four out of the nine in their conference. So yeah, I have them sitting just outside of playoffs.
Yeah. That being said, I think that they do have some individually like very skilled players, and like we could see a game where Cyrene pops off. We could see a game where the return of the president of Demacia in the bot lane really makes an impact. But um, for how they stack up, I'm not 100% sold on Kings of Baron right
Okay.
now. So next will be GSM. Uh, our last GSM team. Jack loves Lamp in the top lane. Somebody named Aikedo in the jungle. Fred in mid. Worst Monk NA and Ari Panda in the bot lane.
Yeah.
So sell
I
me on GSM.
sell you on
Yeah.
GSM. I think that GSM is easily the best team in the conference. I mean, is it even a question? They have a washed up jungler who hasn't played in 7 months. They have Jack Loves Lamp, the Jack Loves Lamp. We have two get wrecked officials on our team. So, if there's any ruling disputes, we just win those. I think that can't be overlooked. Uh, And then Fred and Worshmonk too. I think that altogether we have a pretty strong top side of the map. I think that it's the sort of team that has a lot of upside. I think that this is a roster that's going to get stronger as the season goes on. Um, and I think that we'll be able to contend for the top.
Yeah. So you have your own team in S tier. I can't fault you for that one. I do have GSM in the A tier, or I have them in A minus. Excuse me. I've even
You
knocked
have
them a step down.
you have them listed as the last one in A minus.
Yeah.
Oof.
So the way I was thinking, I pretty much see that there are three really strong teams. I think that our team and PTG are the two strongest, and then there's another
Hmm.
team that we'll talk about later that is, I think, a good contender. And then I've got this like stack of teams that if they hit all of their upside and are able to play around their weaknesses super well, I could see them winning. But I I just have so many hesitations. My hesitation about GSM, I think that the top half of the map is really good with yourself with Jack. I
Thank you.
worry a
I'll
lot
PayPal you
about
afterwards.
bot lane and how it stacks up against some of the better bottom lanes in the league. Um, when you're looking at Worst Monk and Ari Panda like stepping up against like Biscuit and Spoon Crush, Ozo and Black Salt, X Craze and Markames, Audacity and Ziggy Wiggy. I don't know that that is an even matchup, and I think that that's gonna be very difficult to play around.
Maybe I mean when you say that's not an even matchup, you mean the GSM bot lane's just too strong, right? Like
Something I can't
on the
say. I can't flame anybody immediately,
uh-huh.
or I might lose my job. But yeah, we'll pretend like that's what I meant. So um,
Okay.
next will be Goliath Esports Lions, TTV Broly Bro in the top lane, Kimchi for you in jungle, Kurath in mid, and Ethereum and Three Ricks or Eric's
Previously known
perhaps,
as Bubble Boy, right?
previously known as Bubble Boy at support.
So three Ricks or Erics or Bubble Boy has played as a Diamond ADC before, seemingly role swap to support question mark. Um, a couple of recognizable faces, Ethereum, of course. Another full platinum team. Um, I think within their conference they are probably, sort of like a middle of the pack team. But I think I have them listed as probably a playoff contender. Like they're probably going to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns on this roster. I actually think that they have a pretty high upside with Bubble Boy and with Kurath, who is one of the
Hmm.
higher ranked like solo queue mid laners. I
Hmm.
think if they can use those strengths and kind of mitigate the weaknesses of some of the rest of their roster, that they could be a really strong team. I actually have them up in the A minus tier. I'm kind of buying in on the Goliath esports hype for platinum at least. And I'm also interested to see if Goliath Platinum would take Goliath Diamond, if Lions would beat Armored. That's a matchup I want to see.
Probably relatively close. And I think that as far as the Goliath esports teams go, there's three of them. This one probably has the best chance for success, I'd say.
Yeah. Our next team, two more in Silverwing. We're gonna go with S team. It's the Sloth Tamer. In the top lane, EVNG in jungle. All luck, no skill in mid. JT Taylor, 1999, which is probably a little bit too much personal information about him. And I am just in time at support.
I mean, just in time is a name I recognize purely for the pun in it. Uh, I mean, I don't recognize a whole lot of names on here. It's a team that it's within this conference. This conference has several teams that are contending for the top. It's hard to look at this team and say, yes, this is going to be a playoff team. This is going to be, a strong team or a contender. I think that I have them listed outside of the playoffs.
Yeah, you actually have them as a D tier team. So,
Uh,
no
I
shot at the
wasn't buying
playoffs.
in. The pun actually took away points. That was the difference.
I have them as a C tier team. I don't think that they'll make playoffs uh, with the way that they're currently set up, but I don't think that they're just terrible. So, Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the last team in Silverwing is going to be Cosmic Flow, allegedly the best logo in the league, although I would have arguments about that one. Although right now there's not a huge amount of competition. I'm going to throw that one in there.
You're saying more teams need to come out with logos.
Yeah, I'm saying that overall the quality of the logos has dropped pretty drastically.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Cosmic Flow, UNSC in the top lane, Chimichungus in the jungle, Bomb Voyage in mid, and Chimmy and Skylar Tune at bot and support.
So a couple names that are relatively recognizable. Chimmy plays pretty well in TFT. Um,
I don't. I think the casters are going to have an issue with this because they have Chimmy and Chimichungus,
you're not wrong.
and that seems like a mess. Uh,
Hmm.
UNSC is a pretty good player to actually talk about it. Bomb Voyage is again one of those higher rated mid lane players. That being said, again, Silverwing I think is a pretty tough conference, and it's going to be tough. They have to break through Revenge of the Mosher and then another team in order to make playoffs in the way that I currently have everything stacked up. So they have to be better than Revenge of the Mosher and Goliath, and
Hmm.
then they would have a playoff spot. And I don't know that that's exactly where I see this team ending up.
I also have them listed just outside of the playoffs. I don't think that they're necessarily a bad team, and given the right set of circumstances, given a good run, I think that they potentially could make it into the playoffs. But as of right now, I have them listed just outside.
Yeah. So that being said, I'm gonna swap to my tier list, and we're gonna talk about Fury Horn. Um, I took some liberties with some pluses and minuses. I apologize, but yeah. All right. Our the first team's going to be Clap and Patty Cake with Florifu dash Beginner 44 dash probably another bunch of band accounts in the top lane. I Fly So High in the jungle. Princess Kimmy in mid. I Can't A My in bot and Atron in the bottom lane.
Do you think it's I can't aim Y2, or is it I can tie my two?
I Can Tie My Two. Makes sense. Yeah, that sounds okay.
I don't know. It's a name. Perhaps we'll need clarification on that. Looking at this roster, though, I think that the big standout here is I Fly So High, as one of the few Plat 1 junglers. I think they're actually like an Evelyn one trick in solo queue. I think that it's a team that could have some upside to it. I think that I have them set as, being one of the better playoff teams.
Yeah. I Fly So High is I if you ban the Evelyn, I don't know what he plays, and that seems like it would be a weakness coming into like mixed competitive play. I have them as a playoff team by virtue of Furyhorn being a little bit weaker as a conference.
Hmm.
And also, I guess, benefit of the doubt a little bit. I think both of us are giving to Florifu. His account is gold four last split and like silver this split, but I don't know that that's indicative of where he's
So
supposed to be.
I think if you do a little bit of digging, you find, perhaps several band accounts. And when you see someone who's playing, on a competitive team where the only accounts they give you are a couple of level 40 accounts, um, y- you just kind of wonder about it. I mean, Tyler One, he just started his unranked to challenger stream, right? His account, he's been playing on it a week, and it's already like level 48. So that's sort of like an idea of the amount of games that you have to play. And maybe he's really toxic. Maybe he just gets banned before he can hit level 50 every time. Um, but I think that this is probably a team that could be a little bit better than their ranks might be saying.
All right, next team is going to be Pigs Might Fly, OG the Arbiter in the top lane, Rimbones in the jungle, Smooths in mid, X Craze and Mark Hames in the bottom lane. I have kind of a soft spot a little bit for this team just because Rimbones and Smooths were some of the first. They were on an original Pigs team, which was one of the first teams that I casted in LKC. So kind of a soft spot there for Rimbones and Smooths. But yeah,
Speaking of pigs, that's the team that I first played on when I joined GRLCS, then OKLCS. Um, I've played with Smooths before. Uh, this is a team with a lot of older faces on it, but I think has a lot of upside, especially with the X Craze and Mark Hames bottom lane. I think this is a team that could be a contender, at least within Fury Horn.
Yeah, I think that they're uh, probably the second best team, maybe the best team you could argue, but I think second best in Fury Horn. And
Hmm.
um, their bottom lane might be the best in Plat Capped with X Craze and Mark Hames. I just
Hmm.
worry a little bit. Smooths, I think, hasn't been playing the most league. Rembones, I don't know what his status is, but these guys were platinum back when I was casting LKC. So
Hmm.
I don't know if that's their ceiling, if they kind of burned out, like where exactly those players are. But I worry a little
Hmm.
bit about them in like around playoff times, like stepping up to that competition. I think that
For
they'll do really well in Fury Horn. I have them as an A minus, but um, yeah, I don't know that they'll. I can see a world where they can win the championship. I can also see a world where that is a big drawback and they might struggle a lot come playoff time.
Yeah, I think he'll be an interesting team to keep an eye on, especially since Smooths, he hasn't played a whole lot. Back when he did play, he was like a Zed Vel'Koz two trick or something, or
Those are
maybe a
that's a
Nivea.
weird combo of champions. Yeah, I think I remember that as well though.
He also played a Nivea. I think that in one of the games he ended up playing like a Nivea top. Um, anyway, don't see him on a lot. We'll see if his champion pool has grown a bit since then. But I think that the big thing that they can hang their hat on is the bottom lane there.
I don't
Oh,
think
it's
ASOL
Asol.
was
That's
out when
right.
I was playing or when I was casting them. So yeah.
I think he played a lot of Asol, but that sounds right. That does ring a bell.
Our next team's going to be Final Boss, the team moving down from Diamond to help us complete our roster. Um, Mass Mass Per Legend in the top lane. Robert Plant, the guitarist from Led Zeppelin, coming in for the jungle. Seishi in mid. Pharaoh probably in bottom lane, and Danny Cool, 241 at support.
And I think that a certain amount of credit has to be given for his team. This was a team that did want to play in Diamond Capped. Coming down after another team may or might not have been removed. Uh,
F's for
so
Infinite Anguish, by the way.
yeah, F's as an F tier for Infinite.
I mean, I was going F's out in the chat. Pay
I mean,
respects,
I
but
I think that it works in two. I mean,
it's a
I don't know
clever
how much
pun. I
respect.
wanted to highlight it, and then now we just explained it, ruined it. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anyway, I think this is a team that I I think that they probably would have been a D tier team in Diamond. I think in Platinum, uh, I have them listed as like a C tier team. I don't know if they necessarily make playoffs, but I think they probably have a better shot here than they did in Diamond,
yeah, I think that they can definitely contend. I don't have them making playoffs personally, but they could certainly
hmm
contend, and I think that this is a better spot for them to land, whether they want to be here or not. And I hope that they do well, just because I appreciate them like helping out and coming in like last second. But
for sure.
yeah, Seishi was also known as Dylan. Oh, that explains why Dylan Rue is on the roster. All right,
Oh, okay.
I was confused about the. Yeah, he's on the roster on the uh, Battle 5, but not on
Well, people
the
just
roster
need to
that I got.
quit fucking name changing. Right.
Yeah, that would be nice. Do I have
Uh,
to have the consistent branding talk already? We haven't even gotten to that team yet.
right.
Next is going to be Divine Ascension Gaming. JDK in the top lane, Dunk Prime in the jungle, Void Alive in mid, MCQ Nye. It doesn't have a T
Mickey
at the
Knight?
end. I'm not really sure. At AD and PJs all day at support.
Which I mean, who can't support PJs all day? Um, yeah, I
Forgot
this is
the
a team.
T. Oh no. Okay. And
13,900 RP or IP blue essence down the drain.
yeah.
Feels bad, man.
uh,
Um,
I love getting these little stories every once in a while when we hit these new teams. It's like, oh, all right, well. Anyway, I have them as C tier, just kind of on the outside of playoffs. I think that they do have some opportunities again, especially in Fury Horn, which is a little bit weaker of a conference. But you do need to finish top four out of nine, and I have them finishing just a little bit outside that right now.
Yeah, I also have them listed just outside the playoffs. Yeah, it'll be a team to watch, but as of right now, not putting money on them making it out.
Next will be Sam's Kids, Chewy Solo Gaming. I guess a Star Wars fan in the top lane. Helios N in the jungle. Lamine, um, Lamine maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
In mid, Chinese T1 Faker. Put him on a team with SKT Ezreal from earlier. Anyway,
Hmm.
Chinese T1 Faker at AD and Defied in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and having, Chinese Faker, that's a pretty big pull. I don't know how they got that signing, but a team that I don't know. I don't recognize any of these names.
Yeah, I have
I
them in uh, the team we just talked about, Divine Ascension, kind of fighting it out for potentially that last playoff spot with
mhm.
some of these other teams. But as of right now, I have them out as
I
like
think
the
that's a
first team
reasonable
out.
place
Yeah.
to. I think that's a reasonable place to put him. I think I put him just inside of the playoffs. Um, but definitely a wild card. Definitely one that we need to keep an eye on. One that we'll want to see how well they end up doing.
All right, and bringing it back around to teams that we know a little bit about. But Sensei Squad will be the next team. Ed Forius in the top lane, US Secret Cervix in the jungle, Midnight Slushy in mid, Boosted Asian, and Zale 1212 in support.
A lot of recognizable faces here. Some players who've had quite a bit of success in the past, especially within a weaker Fury Horn conference. I think it's hard to see how this isn't, probably the top team in the conference.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're the top team in this conference, and by virtue of that, kind of, I have them in the A tier by themselves.
Hmm.
In You can get really favorable ways to dodge ROTM and PTG until you get to the semifinals, and then once you get there, like in a best of three in the semifinals, do I favor one of those teams over the other? I probably favor RTM or PTG right now, but I could
Hmm.
see Sensei Squad leveling up and moving past them.
For sure, this is a team that definitely has a lot of potential in it. I think it'll be hard to have a read on them once they get around two playoffs, just because I'm not sure if they have a ton of competition here in uh, Fury Horn.
Yeah,
But either way, I think it's a team that would be a pretty safe bet to make it into playoffs and probably contend for the top position.
yeah. And then Oklahomies will be our next team. Leave it to Wally 96 in top lane, Jordan V69 at jungle, his Durkee in mid, the legend Joey himself, and then Renji and Madcaps in the bottom lane. Um, this is a
Another
really tough team to
throwback,
place.
yeah. Another throwback to Pigs and eventually Apache, Renji, who was a mid laner back then, now role swapped to 80 carry, and then a few other recognizable names on there. It is difficult, sort of, to really decide where this team's going to land.
Yeah, a lot of players who've played in leagues before. I think one new name in Madcaps brings in kind of a little bit of a wild card, but it's kind of weird taking because the clump that they're in terms of where I would rank them is with a bunch of these teams that we don't know anything about. So it's
Hmm.
hard to even though I know these players, it's hard to see where they stack up in that sort of clump. Uh,
For sure.
so I do have them in C tier outside of playoffs. I I think that Renji and Joey particularly can pop off. Leave it to Wally has been fine in the past as well. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, right now I've got them on the outside.
Same.
All right, and then two more teams. We've got Vision Gang, Referum in the top lane. Oh God, Skizena, Skiz, Skiazenoria. That's as good as I'm gonna get, I think. In the jungle, Xander Vistora in mid, True Rage, and Maximus. God, what is that? 50, 73? 73?
That sounds right. That looks probably about right.
Yeah. L's
Yeah.
50, right? He's
Yeah, I think so.
LXXIII, which is, I think,
Yeah,
73.
I think it's 73.
That might be wrong. Anyway, this team, this team was formerly known mostly as Sleeper Diamonds, was the last time we saw them. They were a very fringe playoff team. I think they missed on a tiebreaker the last time that they played in GRCS in gold. I actually have them on the other side now, just slipping in on the tiebreaker as a playoff team.
Based on the conference that they're in and their past, I would expect them to be in the upper half, vying for that fourth or fifth position in the conference. Specifically Xander Vastora has, had quite a bit of success before. I would expect this team to make playoffs.
All right, our last team is going to be Get Money Boys. Pretty much the same roster from Gold Cap last split, but Emrys 3 in the top lane, Creativity Yak in the jungle, Cold Flow in mid, Tai Mai Shu, the only new player at AD, and El Big Daddy 28 at support.
Yeah, and a few gold players and tie my shoe. Um, I think that this team has some recognizable faces, has some people on it that could do pretty well, but I'm not sure if I see this team as one that is going to contend for playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely have them in the D tier as well. Unfortunately, I don't see the rankings stack up well for them. That being said, they've played together for two splits now, and
Hmm.
teamwork can trump a lot of different things. And if they play well together, they can cover up a lot of the weaknesses that they have, and maybe make a good bid for everything. I hope that they win a couple of games. I don't know that they should have any more expectations than that though.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. Maybe they're able to subvert our expectations, but
Yeah.
as of right now, wouldn't put money on them
All right, so
making it to the
that's
playoffs.
that's us putting ourselves out there. I'm sure everybody got the nice screen caps so that we can get flamed for them at the end of the season. But um, hopefully you guys enjoy this season. Week one of games will be played this week, and then um, next next Saturday we're going to do a week one preview show where we're going to highlight some of the matchups that we're looking forward to most. I'm going to maybe see if I can find a guest for week one. Not 100% sure. We'll see what the format looks like when we get there.
Hmm.
And then Sunday before LCS, I think is, or did he say Sunday evening? I don't remember. Look at Vid's post. He's got the schedule for everything. I think Gold is on Sunday will be the first stream, and then it just kind of carries on through there. So make sure you're checking out the Twitch channel that you're looking at right now. I'm gonna look at getting everything on like Spotify and whatnot. This was a much longer episode than we're planning to have, but it always is. Um, so yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed having some content, and we'll look forward to talking about the games, and we'll see you next week at 2:30.
Yep, thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
Go watch LCS. It's starting right now, by the way. That's the other thing.
Who's playing 100 Thieves CLG? Oh, 100 Thieves got set. Okay, game's over.
Oh, GG. Don't go watch LCS. It's already over.